welcome you all to our Not a Breakfast. We can't really call it a breakfast anymore because we're not feeding any of you. So I want to thank you all for being here on this very cold, dreary day. But as we were saying earlier, we do need the rain. As always, before we start, we want to thank our corporate partners. And I've said this before, and I need to say it again, is this year has been challenging for so many of us. And without the corporate partners, we would not have been able to do the things that we've done. The corporate partners allowed us to provide over 800,000 referrals since March, hundreds of direct hands-on assistance with loans, EIDL loans, PPP, a consistent advocacy. So I just, if you just want to listen for a second, I want to read all of our corporate partners because they've been very generous to us and many of the other not-for-profits in Orange County. So our platinum partners are the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey, Legoland New York Resort, which as you know will be opening next year, Woodbury Common Premium Outlets, Drake Globe, attorneys at law, and Cornerstone Family Healthcare, which has really borne the brunt of a lot of what has happened this past year, really. So if you see anybody from Cornerstone or any other healthcare provider, please give them kudos and a lot of thanks. Our gold partners are Access Supports for Living, Central Hudson Gas and Electric, Community Products, DocuWare, Empire State Bank, Hudson Valley Credit Union, who is also one of our breakfast sponsors this morning, Montefiore St. Luke's Hospital, Orange and Rockland Utilities, Orange Bank and Trust Company, Garnet Medical Center, Touro College of Osteopathic Medicine, and Ulster Savings Bank. And then our President's Circle are Acquisitions Marketing, Venura Hospitality Group, Interact Marketing, who is our speakers this morning, SDA Events, and Verizon Wireless Zone of Orange County. I do want to, just because the weather's a little glitchy, so thank you all to our corporate partners. Thank you so much for your support of the Chamber, of us here, of our staff, and especially the business community of Orange County. I do want to just ask if everybody could just, in the event the technology goes out on us because of the weather a little bit, please be patient with us. So I'm going to turn this over first now to Belfour Property Management, who is one of our sponsors this morning, and we have a video from them, which will be starting, which Joanna is going to start up.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to have this opportunity to introduce myself to you. Thank you again, Orange County Chamber of Commerce. I apologize that I can't be with you live, but in any event, for those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Jennifer DeLillo, and I am a disaster recovery specialist with Belfour Property Restoration. We are the world's largest disaster recovery company, and every day, 24/7, we're responding to properties that have sustained damage from water, fire, mold, wind, and storm. We have specialists and response teams that help you get you back into your homes and to your most precious moments and people. And we help businesses get back up and running with minimal business interruption. So how exactly does that work and how does it pertain to you? In the Hudson Valley region, Belfour has multiple facilities. So not only are you surrounded by the entire metro area and the tri-state area, we have response teams, but you have your response teams right here in your backyard, in Westchester, in Middletown, in Orange County, New York, as well as Waterford in the Capital Region. So when you sustain damage, generally you're going to contact your insurance company, and then once that happens, you're going to look for a reputable company who has enough manpower and resources that could come in and get you back to where you need to be. And that's where Belfour comes in. We have amazing specialists in many different arenas, from single-family residences, multifamily complexes, schools, healthcare facilities, manufacturing and industrial facilities, major commercial complexes. We have specialists that service and provide the knowledge and know-how to get the job done for any and all types of disasters in those types of buildings. So I hope that you, the Hudson Valley community, feels great comfort in knowing that you have an amazing team, who we like to call ourselves Belfourians, that are going to help to respond to you and your families in your time of need. If you have any additional questions, you can always reach out to the Orange County Chamber of Commerce and get my contact information. Again, my name is Jennifer DeLillo, and you can also find out more about us on belfour.com. There's a lot more that we do, but I can sit here and talk to you guys for hours because I'm very passionate about what we do, and I feel very grateful and I feel great pride that we can be of service to our friends, our families, and our neighbors in our community. One quick spotlight or highlight that I would like to share with you is that on Saturdays on ABC at 11 a.m., we have a show called Hearts of Heroes. And that show is designed to highlight and showcase all of our amazing first responders and local heroes and give you a really good look at what goes on behind the scenes and how these amazing people have really helped out during major disasters. And it's a wonderful family-friendly show. I hope you check it out. I hope you never have to call us. I don't want you to experience a disaster. But if you do, know that you have an amazing group of people and amazing teams everywhere around the world that can help you in your major time of need. So again, thank you so much for having me, and I wish you guys a wonderful week. Bye-bye.
Well, thank you, Jen, for the video. Belfour has been invaluable for Orange County and the entire region with sanitization and cleaning, and that's something that we all have to be really, really careful about now with COVID. So now I'm going to turn it over to our good friends over at Hudson Valley Credit Union, Alice Ray Kerman Kostrobel, who is the AVP Regional Branch Management and the Assistant Vice President, and Jennifer Holohan Farrar, who is the Middletown Branch Manager.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us this morning, Lynn. Hudson Valley Credit Union is more committed than ever to serving our business community. From Paycheck Protection Program loans to educational webinars, resources, we've dedicated our efforts towards helping businesses recover from this immensely challenging year. In 2019, we expanded our field of membership to 8 additional counties across the Hudson Valley. Businesses in Albany, Columbia, Dutchess, Greene, Orange, Putnam, Rensselaer, Rockland, Saratoga, Schenectady, Ulster, and Westchester County can now take advantage of our affordable products and convenient services. Whether your business serves a community, a country, or a county, the credit union has the means to help you grow. For over 50 years, we've delivered more than just bank accounts to Hudson Valley residents. Robust financial literacy and educational content provides the tools and resources needed so you can control your financial future. Coupling our own team's knowledge and expertise with that of our community partners, we've been able to host events and webinars like our Small Business Survival Series and our annual Women in Business Conference, empowering entrepreneurs and business leaders alike with a platform to discuss shared experiences and best practices. One of the ways we're giving back to the business community is through programs like our Small Business Survival Series. The webinar is a series that focus on a range of topics such as marketing, sales, data harnessing, operations, and more. Our next webinar, 15 Ways to Grow Your Business in 2021, is happening December 8th. Feel free to register or watch it live or on demand, or you can also get the entire series through our website at hvcu.org, Small Business Survival Story. Take it away, Jen.
Good morning. So Hudson Valley Credit Union is proficient in business, from transactions as complex as commercial mortgages and as simple as business checking accounts. We have hand-on experience with thousands of businesses. When the coronavirus pandemic hit, we quickly sprung into action, helping over 800 business members secure $34 million in Paycheck Protection Program funding. From across New York State, retail stores, restaurants, property managers, sole proprietors, and many other businesses were able to keep their doors open and their staff employed, shifting their focus from funding to managing other challenges of the pandemic. Our team of business experts are adept at changing environments and constantly up to date on emerging commercial market trends. Their skills and insight deliver the path to proficient closings with clear-cut guidance. In the market for property, equipment, or additional cash flow, Requesting funding just got easier with our enhanced online business loan application. With this user-friendly system, you can now apply for everything from a business credit card to a multi-million-dollar commercial mortgage, anytime and from any device. Whether you're searching for a multifamily, mixed-use, or industrial property, Hudson Valley Credit Union has the resources to carry you through closing the deal with the most affordable rates. With no prepayment penalties, conventional or SBA financing, up to 25-year amortizations, and up to 80% LTV for most commercial real estates, borrowing is easier at HVCU. Let our lending professionals get you started so you can get back to things that matter.
Hudson Valley Credit Union is much more than a banking institution. It's a community of like-minded people with one goal in mind, to make the Hudson Valley a great place to live, work, and prosper. We're here to make banking easy so you can quickly get back to the things that matter. Thank you for having us this morning.
There we go. Thank you both very much. We are so appreciative of everything that you've done for all the businesses in Orange County, and also for your partnership with the Chamber. And now I'm going to ask Joanna if you would put up the video from Scott Perry at Atlas Security.
Hello and good morning, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Scott Perry, and along with my business partner, Matt, I own Atlas Security Services. We're a security guard provider. We provide services throughout the Hudson Valley, as well as in New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Matt's a retired trooper, and I'm a retired NYPD sergeant. We've been in business since 1992, and we currently have approximately 200 guards on staff. We provide services to all industries: municipalities, educational, healthcare, retail, entertainment, etc. We have a list of clients that reads like a who's who of Orange County and the Hudson Valley, and we're very proud of that fact. We provide the same services that the multinational companies provide. However, we maintain a hands-on approach where myself or my business partner are available 24/7. In addition to the security services such as armed and unarmed guards that we've been providing for several decades, recently, due to the new challenges we face, we're providing temperature screening, wellness questioning, the maintaining of social distancing guidelines. So if you or any of your clients have any questions regarding security services, please reach out. Thank you for your time and have a good day.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Joanna. So those are our sponsors, and if you're interested in sponsoring one of our events, we have our virtual events, please let me know. I just have a couple of things to go over with you all before we transition to our speakers. I want to remind you that our COVID numbers are unfortunately going up. Please make sure that you see Steve Newhouse's updates every day. They're on Facebook, and then between like 4:30 to 6 o'clock he posts them, and then they're uploaded to the Orange County Health Department website on the COVID page. If you're not on Facebook, it's really important that you get that information, because he gives you a daily update, not just of the numbers, not just of the hospitalization rate, but also things that are happening and how it's impacting us here in Orange County. So I would first, most importantly, ask you to watch that. The other thing is make sure that you wear your masks. This one is from our member Bliss Boutique. It's from Headbands for Hope. And also make sure you have hand sanitizer. Access Supports for Living sells this, keeps people with disabilities employed. So, but please take precautions. The numbers are rising. The other thing I just want to mention quickly is I want to thank everyone who has so far donated to our silent auction. The response has been really overwhelming, so we are very grateful for your support. If you have something you'd like to donate to us for our silent auction, which we'll be doing in the beginning of December, please let us know. If you can't think of anything, one of the tacks that we've been suggesting is that please support a restaurant. Go buy a gift certificate to a restaurant and then donate it to us so that we could auction it off. You're supporting us and you're also supporting a restaurant. So thank you for your generosity with that. Also, please make sure you subscribe to our emails, our daily emails. We have 3 that go out per week. And with all of the changes, again, yesterday, Albany changed the regulations for gyms, restaurants, and reduced the number for social gatherings in the home. So please make sure that you subscribe to that you can subscribe at info@orangeny.com. And I think that's all of the little updates that I wanted to mention to you. And I'm going to introduce to you now our speakers who I have to say, the 3 that you will be speaking to, you'll be listening to today, not only do they have expertise, not only are they just wildly successful, but they're 3 of the coolest people that walk Orange County. They're just amazingly generous, kind people who are very empathetic and really help to make Orange County one of the best places to live. Because they're just empathetic and they care so much. So first is Joe Beccalori, who is really, the first time I met him, I thought, this man just defines cool. He's incredible. His office was amazing. He's a 25-year digital marketing veteran and industry thought leader, which he is. He writes for Forbes and some of the larger business magazines. After working for 15 years in enterprise web programming, design, and marketing services, he founded Interact Marketing in November of 2007, and is presently the company's CEO, visionary, and public speaker. He's also a contributing author on Forbes, Huffington Post, and Relevance.com, which is pretty amazing. If you think about that, that's pretty significant. The next speaker from Interact is our good friend also, Anthony Church. Anthony Church is a serial entrepreneur and author who has worked on several ventures as well as provided business consulting to companies across the United States. He has been involved in online marketing since 1999 and couples his decades of in-the-trench experiences with an MBA in marketing and certifications from Google. And I'm going to add something to that without any shadow of a doubt from me, Anthony is probably one of the kindest human beings that you will ever meet. Because Anthony, you really are. You're an amazing person. You have a soul of gold. So thank you for everything that you do. And our third speaker from Interact is Irina Negru. She was an entrepreneur, an avid networker throughout the Hudson Valley, and a graduate of SUNY Orange and SUNY New Paltz. She helps to increase brand and company awareness through various social media channels for clients using content development, paid advertising, and organic efforts. In addition, she helps to interpret, extract, and analyze data and analytics into useful information for clients to determine which initiatives work best. Irina also pairs her experience with her certifications from Google. And on a personal note, I have known Irina since she was in high school, because she has been my intern through high school and college. So I have known her for many, many years. And it's just wonderful to see somebody who grew up in Orange County, who developed in Orange County, who stays in Orange County, and is another wonderful, good, very cool human being. So with that introduction, I'm now going to turn it over to Joe, and I'm sure we're all going to learn an awful lot.
Well, I think that's probably the best introduction I ever got. Thank you, Lynn.
It's all true. It's all true.
And I would second those thoughts about Anthony and Irina. I'm fortunate to have such great people on the team here as well. So what are we going to cover today? We want to cover the Google suite of marketing tools that we feel are most critical to any business who's doing any kind of marketing or sales on the internet today. Lynn graciously, gave a presentation, so you can put a name to a face of who's presenting today. A little bit about Interact. We have an iconic building here in New Windsor, which is the glass mirrored building. If you know Marshall and Sterling and ENT, we get to share this lovely space with them here in New Windsor. Our areas of specialization have grown since we initiated business in 2007. We started as primarily an organic search engine optimization company, meaning we help clients have their website rank higher in Google, Yahoo, and Bing, so that when people look for their products and services, we could drive traffic and sales using that mechanism. We've also become a Google certified ad partner, which includes ads within search engines, as well as ads you may see all over the internet on various sites, banners and things like that, that can be triggered by demographic targeting or by targeting people who did searches previously and landed on your site. We're a full service digital. So basically, if you see it on the glass, we're working with it, including some crossover stuff like video that's now becoming, instead of TV, shifting more towards YouTube, even audio ads on things like Spotify and Pandora. Primarily, though, we work with off-the-shelf tools from Google, sometimes in combination with other marketing tools to service our clients. And we've got a wide variety of clients, from local mom and pop businesses all the way up to enterprise. We've served over 300 clients in 13 years and looking forward to our next year here in the Hudson Valley. One thing that separates us is we're obsessive about getting certified on the technologies that we use and really achieving a level of expertise. So every front-facing manager in the company has either 5 to 7 years experience, a master's in marketing or some other business degree, and multiple Google certifications. And on our website, we certify on things like WordPress, PHP, MySQL, and basically the technology platforms that the internet and the websites are built on. So today we're going to be covering these following tools, which are part of the Google Marketing Suite, if you will. And then we're going to step you through it in what we consider to be a kind of a top-down logical order of how you might use these things if you're starting from ground one. So I always feel like a picture speaks 1,000 words. We've got 6 primary tools that we're going to present today, starting with Google.com itself, the place we all go to do searches, and including with that a tool called Google Trends, which we'll get into for search analytics and research capabilities. Next will be Google My Business, and these two are really important in combination because they're the only 2 free ones on here, or at least the ones that you don't have to spend much time and money to have your business represented on the internet or found easily by others during a search. Google Ads, which can feed both search engine results as well as ads on other sites, these 2 primary sources of traffic, and then obviously your website here in the middle. What happens then once the traffic comes through is we want to measure and analyze it. Like, where did the traffic come from? Is certain traffic more valuable than other traffic in terms of engagement, time on site, or generating leads by form fills or phone calls or selling e-commerce products? And that's where these other things come into play. And then also is the technological hosting environment that the website sits on. Is it sound? Does it have uptime? Can Google crawl it easily? Are there other technical issues? And that's where these other Search Console will come into place. And then finally, for the master tracker who tracks everything from Google, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, right? When you have all of these tracking components integrating with one another, we have Google Tag Manager, which makes it easy to manage multiple tracking systems in a centralized place. I mean, all of this basically to maximize the number of visitors, leads, and sales that come from your website. And so if you're ready, we can dive in. I'm going to pass to Anthony for this section, and he's going to take over with Trends and Google.com.
Okay, great. Thank you. Let me just pick up real quick where Joe left off. Okay, so Joe described the framework through which we think about all this stuff. At the top of that, while this loads up here, at the top of that screen was the things that we do here to get people to the website. And then at the bottom, the tools that we'll talk about later on, those are the things we use to measure the impact of what we're doing to get people there. And all these tools are available to sign up for free. Anybody can log in and use these things. So starting with Google.com, everybody's familiar with Google. It's the world's most famous search engine. how do you leverage Google.com to help your business? And basically what we mean by that is, how do you get your website ranking so that people can find you? So we're going to talk a little bit about using Google.com and how you can make sure that you're being found when people are looking for you. And then we'll also talk about some tools that you can use and to help you and assist with that. So there are a number of different things that go into getting yourself to rank well on search engines. Most of us probably at this point have heard the acronym SEO, which stands for search engine optimization. It's just really nothing more than the process of making Google want to rank you on search results by optimizing your website in different ways. And we break this into 4 categories. I have them here on the screen right now. And there's a lot that we could talk about all these topics that we're talking about today. So if I leave anything out, Joe or Irina, feel free to jump in and add to anything that I'm sharing here. So we think about this in basically 4 ways. First is what we call foundational or technical SEO. These are the things that you can do to use Google.com more effectively as a tool to your website, that are things that people don't usually think of. Usually when you think of search engine optimization or ranking well, you may have heard about things like content and keywords and links and things like that. But foundational and technical SEO has more to do with things like how fast is your website? That's a ranking factor. How secure is your website? If it's secure and Google doesn't find any malicious code on it, that's it, and it's up and not hacked and down when Google comes to it, that can have an impact on your rankings. Is it mobile responsive? And if it is mobile responsive, does it have any mobile compatibility issues? So these are the more technical things. They're the things that a lot of people don't really think of when they're thinking of making sure that their website's able to be found. Speed, security, mobile responsiveness, having an SSL certificate on your website. So those are things that website owners will want to look into and think about beyond just the basics of SEO. So there's that whole foundational component of it. How good is the server that you're on? That can impact the speed and the security for that matter. Beyond the foundational stuff upon which you build a more optimized website, you also will want to research and go through a research phase. And research can include anything we'll talk about in a second when we talk about Google Trends. What keywords do I want to rank for? It may not be the words you think. When people are looking for your business or your product or your service or your organization, they may be typing in things that you haven't thought of, or typing variations of phrases that you're not optimized for. So there's a whole research phase that can go into determining what are the best keywords to rank for, because we have limited time, we have limited budgets. So we want to make sure that while we're doing these optimizations, we're optimizing our website for the keywords that will drive the biggest impact. And we'll talk about some of the research when we get to Google Trends. And then there's also competitive research. So who's ranking for the phrases you want to be ranking for? You can do those searches, see who they are, and then go ahead and we can take them through a process and kind of reverse engineer, why are they ranking the way that they are? Why are they ranking for these phrases, and why are they ranking well? So there's a whole research phase that will go into a good campaign, which we'll get to in it shortly. We're also going to talk a little bit about on-site SEO. How do you get your website to rank by doing things to your actual website on the site itself? And we'll go over some of those things that are easy for most people to be able to do or to look at. And then the last piece is off-site. When we're thinking about this stuff, what can we do elsewhere on the internet that's not on our website in order to help our website rank better? And that's primarily link building. It's finding other places online to point links back to our site. So that's the framework through which we look at search engine optimization. And those are the different organizational components of it. So I was everybody probably wondering, what are some things you can do to your website to help search engines better understand what they're about? The primary goal of a search engine for people who are doing search, they want to return the results that are most relevant. And that's how Google became one of the ways Google became such a dominant search engine, is they kind of mastered the algorithm early and were providing better and more relevant search results early on. Now they've become many things since then, but so the primary goal is how do we determine what are the most relevant websites for what this person just searched for? And there are a number of ways that they determine that, and we'll talk about some of them. Website speed we discussed. So making your website faster can improve how well you rank for the phrases you are ranking for. And there's different online tools that you can use to test your website speed. The number one cause of slow websites are large images and video that are larger than they need to be or haven't otherwise been optimized for speed. For example, if you have video loading on mobile, you may consider having video only load in your main rotator on desktop and have mobile maybe load an alternate version or a smaller file size or smaller images. But speed is one of them. And then in order for Google to understand what your website's about, and that's what it should rank for, it looks at what are the words on there? What is it about? It's like, and they kind of do it in a hierarchical way, which we'll look at in a second. It's like looking at the table of contents of a book to understand what that book is about and if you want to read it or not, or if it's relevant for what you're looking for, if it has the information in it that you want. So the information on the website, the content on the website, making sure that it includes the words that you want to rank for is important. So one of the things you can do is you can go through your website and make sure that it's containing the words throughout that you want to make sure that your website's showing up in search engines for. And then include those words throughout content and in some very key strategic spots, which I'll get to in a second, without overdoing it, because some people will try to game the Google algorithm by just putting the keyword as many times as they can. And for a while in the early days that worked, but the algorithm's too advanced now. We can pick up on that and see that as a spammy tactic. It's not effective. So I mentioned your website as being like a book that Google tries to like skim really quick and see what it's about. One of the ways it does that is it looks at different tags on the website. If you ever had a browser open and I have 50 tabs open at any time in my browser. When you hover over those tabs, you'll see a little description pop up. Or if the tab is wide enough and you only have a few open, you might see more of the description. But basically, that's your title tag. That title tag is one of the first places that search engines will look at when they're trying to figure out what your page is about. And if you're on WordPress, like over a third of the websites on the internet are, these are very easy to update by installing some simple WordPress plugins. If you log into WordPress and go to the plugin section, you can find plugins that will help you do this very easily. It's also, this title tag on your website is also what shows up in the Google search results as the clickable link. So let's say you want to rank for shoe repair. Good idea to have the word shoe repair in your title tag. It will also show up when somebody's searching for shoe repair. They'll see it here in this clickable link. What I have on the screen here is an example of a port title tag where they basically just stuffed keywords into the title tag. General contractor in New York City, construction contractor in New York City, and construction. Title tag should tell you what the page is about. It should be the appropriate length so it doesn't get cut off there on the end. And it should be something that it also has the ability to make people want to click it. In addition to the title tag, you can also modify what are called your meta description tags, which is easy to do. You just type a couple of sentences about what that page is about. This also shows up in search results right underneath that clickable link and give you an idea of what the page is about. So if you've ever skimmed search results, usually you look at the links real quick. If something catches your eye, you'll look down here at the couple of sentences and say, okay, that looks like it has what I want, and then click on it. So optimizing those two things can help. And there are about a half dozen or so other important tags that search engines will look at first before they read the content, or at least weight it more heavily, that you can optimize as well. You can look for your meta keywords tags, look for your H1 tags, and your image alt tags. And again, that sounds a little technical, a little complicated, but can be made very easy through content management systems like WordPress if you just do a quick search for a plugin that you can install that can help you do all of that. And here's an example of what it looks like and how easy it can be. So if you have a plugin installed, you can actually just type in the title tag. You could type in the meta description tag right inside your WordPress framework. So those are some small things you can do. Those are your tags. You can also add content. So if you know a couple of phrases you want to rank for, make sure that you have those words on your homepage. Make sure you have those words on your services pages if you're offering services. And if you have services pages, make sure that you break them out so you have one service described per page. That way that particular service page is very relevant for that phrase and that topic, as opposed to just listing all your services on one page. So there are some tips on how you can leverage Google.com, make sure that you can rank for the phrases that you want to rank for, and some things that you can do to move you in that direction. Okay. Next thing we're going to move to is a free tool. It's called Google Trends. It's available to everybody here, google.com/trends. It's one of my favorite tools that Google has for us. It allows you to compare keywords and see what the search volume of them are relative to one another. It also lets you look at trends over time and how people have searched for that phrase over time. Is demand for a product going up or a service going up? Is it going down? Are people searching more or less over time for a particular phrase? Are they changing the way they search for you and look for you? Things like that, and we'll look at some examples in a second. You can also analyze multiple phrases at a time. So I could put in 3 or 4 phrases and see how they compare to one another. And you can go back to as far as 2004 with this data. I'll show you a couple of things that you can do with this. So the first is here we're looking at, let's say you're offering personal injury representation for clients as a law firm, and you want to make sure that people can find you if they need a personal injury attorney. So you say, okay, I want to rank for personal injury attorney. That's my most important phrase that I would want to show up on Google for. Well, you can compare searches for personal injury attorney to personal injury lawyer. And what we see when we do that is that people actually are more likely to search for personal injury lawyer than they are for personal injury attorney. So it's a very small, a very subtle change in the way that people search. But just by knowing that, you can then optimize more heavily for personal injury lawyer, and maybe you'll get 15% more traffic to your website or 20% more traffic just from that one little tip. And this is just one phrase. You can compare any 2 phrases you want. The other thing that we can see here is how this changes over time. So you can see that recently, this year, more people have been searching for a personal injury lawyer than they have last year, for example. And you can see that changing over time. Last thing I want to show you here is the other thing available with this tool is let's say you offer a service, but you're not confined to this particular geographic area. Maybe you're selling things online, or maybe you have a service where you can provide consulting, and where your customer is located is really all over the country. You can see in different geographic areas around the country how people prefer to search for a particular phrase. So we can see that in most states, it is personal injury lawyer, that's the winner here, but in some states, personal injury attorney actually gets more searches. And with this tool, you can click on any state in the country and actually look at it at an even smaller geographic area. And sometimes you'll find differences in there. And this could be a very effective tool for not only the things we just discussed about deciding what keywords you want to use, but also if you're going to run Google Ads, which we'll talk about later, you may decide to bid on certain phrases in different areas of the country more heavily if they're more likely to be searched there. So we may bid higher for personal injury attorney in California, for example, since people tend to search that way there. Those are just some basic examples of some of the things that you can do here. So that's showing comparison between 2 words and how it differs geographically. And then what we're looking at here is, this is an example of seasonality. Many of our industries have some seasonality to it. If it's weight loss, it tends to be seasonal. If it's, well, in this particular case, landscaping services, it tends to be seasonal. Anything related to pools in this part of the country tends to be more seasonal. So these are just some examples, and you can see what that seasonality is. Sometimes you'll be surprised. You may not have known there was seasonality in your industry for a particular service you offer, but you'll see small little spikes in different periods throughout the year. So what can you do with this? Well, you can use it to determine how you want to run your ads. Even if you're doing offline marketing, you may decide, it may help you with planning your ad campaigns for the year. You may run ads leading up to your peak season and test out Google Ads. This way you can determine which ads are going to perform the best. And then when you do hit your peak seasons here, you'll be ready to crank on the ads that are performing best. A lot of different things you can do with seeing and understanding seasonality in your industry. And not only in your industry, but sometimes you'll have different services that peak at different parts of the year. This can help you see those types of things. So this is just google.com/trends. It's a fun tool to go on and determine what do you really want to rank for? What are the ways that people really search for what you offer? So action items for business owners here, and anybody that wants to leverage or take advantage of this, go to google.com/trends. Just type in a couple of different ways that people might be searching for what you're looking for. And then use that to determine what phrases you want to use throughout your site. Now, this is only one tool of about a half dozen or so that we use to do this type of keyword research, but this one's easy for everybody to use. It's publicly available, it's free. So anybody can go on there and take advantage of that. Okay.
All right, thank you, Anthony. So next up, I will be speaking about Google My Business, and it is one of my favorite tools. Google My Business, also known as GMB, is a free Google tool you can leverage now for your business. It's an investment for the future because it's here to stay. It allows local consumers to find your business on Google and Google Maps, and the best of the best businesses containing the most optimized profiles show up in the top 3 results when a search is done for a product or service. And Google indicates which top 3 businesses to show based on how optimized their profiles are before providing the option of the drop-down menu with additional businesses. So Google My Business is applicable for any business, but if you're going to benefit from local people finding you, this is especially for you. It's a one-stop shop for users to know everything about your business. So in order to show up on Google, though, you must create a profile or claim one if already one exists. And this tells Google, like, hey, this is me, this is my business, and you're in full control of that profile. In this section, we'll discuss leveraging this tool to increase visibility, online tools, reviews, importance of updating your contact information, and other important information to note. All right, so moving on to the different components of a Google My Business. On the screen here, you'll see that it's split into different components. So we have reviews, we have company info, we have the customer engagement portion, and then additional reviews at the bottom. So when users do a Google search for your business, this is exactly what they see at first glance. So it's important to optimize all components to the fullest. So this includes, but not limited to, your business hours, your business address, your phone number, pictures, menu if you're in the food industry, etc. Your map listing really serves as a first impression, and it's a useful tool for consumers to learn more information about your businesses. Let's take a look at the inside of Google My Business. So let's see, once you claim and own your listing, you're in control of optimizing all of the components we previously discussed. So those components give you the option to be as specific as possible for your business. So for example, if your regular business hours are 9 to 5, but you want to communicate with your consumers that, hey, in 3 weeks, Thursdays will be closed. You can do that using special hours. Google My Business is a great resource to utilize. And it's important to take advantage of it. And it's free. So if your business has more than one location, you can manage all of them under one roof. So this makes it easier to update one or all of them at the same time. In addition to updating your profile, you can add pictures. You can inform users of what kind of service or product you provide. You can engage with customers. For example, if a consumer asked a question about a phone number, or if you have a product available specifically, you can go in and answer them in real time. Now, since we're speaking about engagement, let's jump into Google reviews. All right, so For Google reviews, over 90% of users rely on reviews before considering a product or service. And statistics have shown that users really trust online reviews as if they're coming from a friend or family member. Showing up in the map listings is a great way to be found, and reviews play an instrumental role in ranking higher, especially for SEO. And the number of reviews and average star rating makes a huge difference in how you'll be placed in the map listing search. So once you receive a review, engage with the user, whether it's with a thumbs up or thumbs down, and reply by thanking them. And it's important to ask your customers or clients for reviews. Inform them that reviews will help you to be found online. In our last portion here of Google My Business, we're going to discuss some action items you can take away from today. So you can go to google.com/business to create or claim your map listing. Once you've logged in, make sure you optimize your profile by adding a phone number, business hours, photos inside or outside of the building. And don't forget keywords. Keywords, they're especially important for SEO, and it doesn't hurt to add those keywords that you'd like to rank for in your description because it's great for organic SEO. And lastly, respond to your reviews if you received some already. And if you haven't, you can begin putting together different communication to customers and clients, requesting a review and also providing them a link to the review section of your Google My Business so they can go in and leave a review for you.
Thanks, Irina. And I'm one of the people that leave lots of reviews for everywhere that I go. So Google knows where I've been. Like, oh, we see you were whatever at PetSmart. Did you want to leave a review? Yes, I do. Then I leave a review. They give you points and incentivize you. So it's like they kind of gamified it a little bit. All right, so that's Google My Business. Again, another free tool for businesses to use. And for some, if you're going to do anything here, I think the first thing that anybody here would want to do, if you haven't done it yet, is go in and update and modify and claim your Google My Business profile. It's a totally different algorithm for that map listing to pop up. A lot of times it's really nothing more than you're close to where the person's searching. And it's a great way to get traffic for many businesses and calls and inquiries and so forth. Okay. Just moving along, Google Ads. This is my favorite tool that Google offers. I know I said that about Google Trends, but that was just for the research phase. This is for the advertising piece. Google Ads is, everybody's seen a Google ad actually. This is what it looks like. It's usually at the top of your search results. You type in I always use shoe repair as an example for some reason. When you type in a search phrase, the ads pop up. Typically, they're usually at the top. There's 3 or so of them, sometimes a little bit more. And in showing up in this area on a search results page, you only pay if somebody actually clicks on your ads. A lot of people call these pay per click ads, but they're a great way for businesses to reach their market and get in front of people. If you're a nonprofit, I should mention, I noticed there were a few nonprofits here today. There's a great program available for nonprofits that we've helped many nonprofits qualify for and remain eligible for. That it will entitle them up to a $10,000 ad credit per month from Google to run these types of ads to help get additional volunteers, donations, get their message out, get the resources to their community. These ads show up as a result of search for keywords, search phrases, and you tell Google what phrases you want your ads to show up for. These are just what we're looking at here is just one type of Google ad. These are text ads. But we'll talk about retargeting as well. Anybody can go in and sign up for this and set one of these up. It's google.com/ads. You can use these text ads to get people to your website. They'll come. Let's say they don't take the action you want them to. They don't call. They don't fill out a form. They don't make a donation, whatever it may be. You can then retarget them. So everybody here has probably looked something up or done some research, and all of a sudden they start seeing the ads following them all over the internet. That's called retargeting. And using Google's display network through this Google ad platform to do that. One of the other benefits of running these types of ads is you can get quicker results. We talked earlier about search engine optimization. That's a process over time of continuous optimization that helps you rank higher and for a larger variety of phrases. But you could show up on page 1 today by putting an ad out like this right at the top. and only pay when somebody actually clicks on the ad, so you can get quicker results. It also helps you harness intent, meaning you can capture the intent of somebody. So if somebody type in shoe repair, maybe I don't want my shoe repair shop showing up because they may be looking for how to do shoe repair. Maybe they want a career in shoe repair, or it could be anything. But if somebody types in shoe repair service near me, that's different. You're capturing their intent there to do business. And then I'll talk briefly in a moment about different bidding strategies. You can bid in different ways to get your ad to show up here. So here are just some of the different targeting capabilities you have with these types of ads. You can target through Google Search Network. You can target by keywords, which we just discussed. You set up geographic boundaries for these. We mentioned earlier, maybe I want to run my ads differently using targeting different keywords in different areas of the country. You can do that. Or if you're just doing it locally, you could say, I just want to do it in this zip code. You can adjust bids and target based on the device that people are on, and about a dozen other different ways that you can target these types of ads. I won't get into all of them. Google's display network, those are the banner ads. So when you're on weather.com, or you're checking out the sports scores, or you're on one of the major news network websites, and millions of sites throughout the internet, and you see banner ads, they're usually a part of Google's display network. So you can retarget to people that have visited your site. You can also just run them, and you can target by different demographics. You can do what's called a customer match. So let's say you have a list of your customers, you can upload them into this platform and then run ads to them, let them know about a new service you launched or whatever it may be. But you can use email lists and phone number lists to also target ads to people as they browse the internet. And here's an example of how that works. I kind of mentioned this. The visitor comes to your website, they look around, they leave, and now maybe they weren't ready to make the purchase. Maybe it's a more considered purchase, or they're just doing research. They see your ad a few times over the next few days on other websites through Google's display network, and then they come back to your website. And a lot of times when you get them back to your site through one of these types of retargeting campaigns, it's for a fraction of the cost you paid on that first click. So it can pay to stay in front of them. You can win percentage of them back and convert them, and that brings down your total cost per acquisition. I mentioned that you get quicker results with Google Ads. You say what phrases you want to show up for, you can have your ads up there today. Whereas with SEO, you have to earn that. Here, you're paying for it. It's like taking out a billboard, except you can put it up and take it down as you wish. Turn it on and turn it off, adjust your budget up or down. So it helps you it helps you rank quickly. You can also turn them on and off at different times of the year to capitalize on seasonality, which we mentioned earlier. And you can use the data that you get. Say you're bidding on a dozen keywords and 2 of them are performing really well. You can say, okay, I want to take those 2 keywords and work them into my longer term SEO strategy. Now I want to get myself to rank for them organically so I don't have to pay for them forever. And you can use that type of data to inform that. I mentioned harnessing intent. Sometimes people want to know, they're looking to go somewhere, they want to do something, they want to buy something. You can use these types of ads to capture people in those little micro moments of their lives. All right. So here are some different bidding strategies that you can use. Bidding strategies are a very big topic. With this, there are different ways that you can decide to run these things. You can use what's called CPA, which is you want to pay a cost per acquisition or a cost per phone call, cost per form submission, or whatever the action is that you want that person to take. If it's an e-commerce site, cost per order. And you can use that as your strategy. You could do cost per 1,000 impressions, which is something the traditional advertising industry is probably very familiar with, where you basically can target a particular cost per 1,000 impressions cost, and then you can use that cost. Let's say it's a $10 CPM, $10 for every 1,000 times your ad is shown. You can compare that to other forms of media that you're running and say, oh, I'm getting $10 CPM over here on this campaign, but it's a $33 CPM on this campaign, and then make decisions based on what the data shows. And then cost per click is what we described earlier. So I'm bidding on shoe repair, I'm bidding on whatever, a dozen different phrases related to shoe repair. Each one of those phrases, I pay a cost every time someone clicks my ad. Some of those phrases cost more per click and some cost less. And then you can decide which ones are performing best, turn those on, bid more on those ones. And the ones that aren't performing, you can turn them off or decrease your bids. So a lot of times you get the question, well, how much does it cost per click? It depends on the keyword. The cool thing about this particular advertising platform is the person that offers to pay the most money doesn't always get shown. So in this example, we have Bob, Jane, Sue, and Tom. Sue is only bidding $2 per click. That's the most she's willing to pay for someone to click on a particular keyword. But her ad shows first. Bob is bidding $4 per click. He's the highest bidder for this particular phrase. They didn't even show his ad. The reason is something called quality score, something called ad rank. There are different things that you can do when you're setting these up to increase your ad rank. And that's primarily a factor of what is your quality score and are you using all the options available. Quality score basically just means the keyword that you're bidding on, does that keyword show up in your ad? If there's a match between the word you're bidding on and what's seen in your ad, your quality score goes up. And then the third piece of that is when they click on that ad and go to your website, is that keyword or that page about, is that page about that keyword? Does it contain that keyword that was also in your ad? If you can match those three things very tightly, those are the primary things that will impact your quality score and make it go up. If you can get a high quality score, you can pay less per click. If you can pay less per click, you can get more results for less money in these campaigns. That's why when a lot of people come to us that have done these things and say, well, we did it and it didn't work. And a lot of times we can do things to impact their quality score and other things like format impact to bring down the average cost per click. So they're now getting more clicks for the same budget and their conversion rates go up. So that's something, if you do set up a Google ad campaign, look into ad rank and how you can impact that. And just a couple of more quick things on this, and then we'll move on to the next one. So these things require ongoing management. Once you set them up, if you just let them run, you're going to end up wasting ad spend. You're going to be bidding on phrases that aren't converting. They're driving people to the website, but they're not calling, they're not filling out a form. And you can have runaway ads that never convert, runaway keywords that never convert, and you just keep paying for them. So it's important to log in periodically and look at the ad performance. If you're running 3 different ads, seeing which one is converting people at the highest rate, and then just looking at the different campaigns you're running and how they're performing. These are things you want to manage over time. And what should happen is the campaign should get more intelligent over time as you continue making tweaks and optimizations, bringing down your average cost per click and bringing down your cost per acquisition for a new client. Okay, these are some more advanced considerations, but you can automate your bidding. So you could just be like, for example, you can use if-then logic on your bidding. So you can say if there haven't been any conversions on a keyword in the last 90 days, then decrease my bid every 90 days. This is just an example, by 5%. So there are different ways you can automate your bidding. You'll want to do some A/B testing. So you'll want to run different ads against each other and see which one performs better. You can do the same on your landing pages. Take the same ad and send it to 2 different landing pages on the site and see which one converts better. And then there are different, more advanced reports that you can run in here. We also talked about different campaign types. You can do display. Those are the banner ads we talked about. You can do retargeting. If you have an e-commerce store, you're selling products online, there are shopping ads. They take on a different format. And those are some more advanced things that you can consider. So some action items if you're interested in Google Ads. I would take an online course in Google Ad Management, campaign management. Just so you can get a firmer grasp of the basics, and there are a lot of them. Of course, you could always contact us as well if you need help or assistance, and then go set up an account at google.com/ads. It's as simple as that. Go in there and set up a campaign. And remember, quality score. You want to keep the keywords, the ads, and the landing page relevant to one another by making sure they all contain the same keywords. So that was a quick crash course on what's available through Google Ads, and then I'll hand it over to Joe to continue.
All right, thanks, Anthony. Just had one question from Dr. Silverman. I didn't want to leave him living in limbo. So the best defense for reputation management with reviews is actually a very proactive offense. What I mean by that is as often as possible that you're able to detect or inquire with existing customers, clients, or patients as to their experience to garner and gather positive reviews over time. Because by the time that one negative review comes in, and it will for most of you, I'm sure some of you may have experienced it already. If that low star rating is weighting against 40 or 50 5-star ratings or 4-star ratings, it's going to have a very minimal impact on the overall reputation. But if you haven't been paying attention to reviews or soliciting them or taking proactive means to get them, then that one negative one could give you a 1-star review when people do a Google search. So that's the first piece of advice. Typically when a negative comes in, I take it through a process. One is, do I identify this person as someone who actually conducted business with me? Meaning, are they in my client roster? Do I look up the name in my core system and I see that they're in fact a customer? Now, for some businesses, that might be easier than others. If you have a busy restaurant with thousands of customers, it may be harder to do that. But the remediation steps for a restaurant could be much simpler. So what I typically do then is, if they are a client, I'll say, I appreciate that you're sending me feedback. Would you please come and fill out this form and set up a call with our customer service group? We'd be happy to, handle the situation with you. If it's someone I don't recognize, I'll just state it in the comment saying, we've looked through our records and we haven't done business with someone of your name. Are you sure you're writing this for the right company? And sometimes you'll get these stealth ones where maybe it was a former employee or somebody that had an issue, and then they're coming and trying to write something. So good social media policy within your company is good for current employees. There's certain things that you cannot restrict, like, people have a right to complain, like for OSHA guidelines, and they have a legal right for whistleblowing and things like that. But other than those legally required aspects, you can have social media policy with employees that while they work for the company and for a period of time afterwards, they'll refrain from writing any kind of information about the company online. Finally, within the medical space, and I'm not sure if you're a medical doctor or not, HIPAA compliance kind of prevents you from getting into any kind of detail with the patient. So an example, like if you got a negative review that the carpet in the waiting room was dirty, you might just reply, thanks for your feedback. I'm having our cleaning company look into this, right? But if it was something related to their medical visit, you typically have to give a response saying, given our, HIPAA compliance and privacy, we're not permitted to respond to these types of things online. We do invite you to call the main location and set an appointment with someone there to discuss the issue or something like that. So those would be the ways that we would typically work with them. You can flag them. There are terms and conditions on Google. If people are berating or using hateful language or calling out employees by name, there is a flagging system in Google, and you can petition each and individual one with Google if those terms and conditions are broken as well. So hopefully those gives you some ideas on how to deal with those. But again, the proactive gathering of positive ones is typically the best thing that you can do to weaken the impact of a negative one that comes in. All right, so I'm just watching the clock here. I see we got maybe 10 or 15 minutes left. So I'm going to try and go through this next section pretty quick. So now that we've gotten people to our website, what do? Well, Google Analytics is one of the most powerful tools out there, and it stemmed from the early tools like Webmetrics and Urchin, which used to sit on your web server and look at your web server log files and then process them. And then when Google bought Urchin in about 2005, they moved the mechanical mechanisms of the counting and tallying into the cloud. And so basically every time someone hits a page on your site, so long as this little piece of code is there, there's a JavaScript language call that pings that page hit back over to Google, and then they keep all the logs and tallies there. There's HTML environment variables that are part of the HTTP protocol that any webmaster can get for people to visit their site, like what was the IP address of the person, and therefore they could look that up in a geolocator and understand approximately where that person was. Did they click direct? Did they punch in the website address, or did they follow a link from somewhere else on the internet? And if they did follow a link, what was that referring link? How long was their session on the site? What pages did they view while they were there? And now with the addition of cookies, where I can put a little identifier on somebody's machine, I can look at multiple visits by the same person over time. For example, they did a search, they found my company, then I retargeted them with a Facebook ad. They came back 2 weeks later. They visited the site a total of 4 times before they picked up the phone and called. And now I have that whole record of where did that sale come from and which different ads were, attributing to that over time. So it's gotten really detailed in looking at user behavior, goal setting. If you want to count how many people subscribe to the newsletter, or how many inquiries for new business, or how many sales of your coffee machine, or whatever it is, you can track those using conversion tags, and then look at things over time. So typically we'll look at, how were we doing November of last year versus November of this year, right? Or what was the COVID impact compared to last year's data for March through April compared to this year's data, March through April, to figure out how much are we down on traffic, and then use that as kind of a key performance indicator of, how might business drop in total this year, or are we starting to make the turn out of this, or that type of thing. So those have been really helpful, particularly in this year. The installation is easy. You go to Google Analytics. It's just analytics.google.com. You'd sign up for it. Once you sign in, they're going to give you this little piece of code. You literally just have to copy and paste it. It should go on every page of your website, which if you have an old school website that's HTML, you literally had to go into each page. If you had a more modern system, you may have a footer or a header. Typically the header is the best place to drop that. Or if you have a content management system, most of them now have plugins where you could just drop the 10-digit Google code and it'll embed the tag for you. Okay, there's been multiple generations of this code. You want to make sure you have the most recent one because it's got the most advanced feature sets in it. This is a little close-up of what it looks like pasted in your site. So once that's there, you can immediately go to what's called Google Real Time, and I'm just kind of working down the menu here. Once analytics installed, you can see who's on your site and where are they coming from and what pages are they on, right? And this, for example, is looking at a local bank, and they can see that there's a person on their homepage and a person on their COVID-19 page. You can also see what that traffic looks like over time. So if you're hosting live events, or if you have an e-commerce store and you want to see how many people are on average in the store because we need people to man the chat bot, this real time can be kind of an interesting way to look at things. Mostly though, we look at things weekly, monthly, and quarterly. And these are all the types of drill down. So your audience, you can look at everything from, where they are in the world, to getting a demographic breakdown of what percentage of my audience is male versus female, what age, ethnicity, income level, and those are pretty accurate based on Google profile information. You don't ever get individual people's information. It's all provided in aggregate, and Google is very careful not to provide individualized data. And the same is true of that retargeting. Just because you did a search for golf clubs and you landed on Dick's Sporting Goods, now you're getting those Dick's Sporting Goods ads, let's say, for golf clubs. neither Google nor Dick's really has any identifying factors that it's you. They just know they're putting this golf ad in front of someone that just recently looked at it. Until you go and make a transaction on the site, let's say, and punch in your credit card to buy the driver or whatever, then they can piece that information together and have an advertising profile on you. So it's a little bit less Big Brother than most people anticipate. And if it still weirds people out, there are things you can do in your browser to block cookies. There's GDPR, which is a European standard, which we now have California and New York adopting similar standards for ad blockers. And so if you want to turn that stuff off, it's usually available right in your browser to do so. Acquisition, this is where the meat of the traffic analysis comes in. So you can look at all traffic, but then you can segment it by people that came direct, people that came from search engines, people that came from paid search ads, social media, etc. And then look at the quality difference in those audiences. Like how many pages did they look at on average? What was the average time on the site? And then did they take any actions or convert in any way? In the behavioral section, we're looking more stuff like show me the typical flow or funnel of traffic. And it'll show you the most common pathways through the site, which is, oh, they landed on the home page, then they went to the, case studies page, and then they went to the form to fill out the inquiry. And then all the different variations of how that traffic flows through the site. It's important to see, where the traffic is dropping off, and more importantly, did you give them an opportunity to take some action? And this is why, calls to actions, contact and inquiry forms, e-newsletter subscribes, we try and have those highly duplicative across the site, if not even in a side nav, so that regardless of how they entered the site, maybe to read a blog article or do something, they have some key information about the company. They've got maybe, confidence builders like seeing testimonials or industry associations, and then a very brief contact form to learn more. And that's almost on every page of the site in certain instances. So they don't have to hop around and learn all of that information. It also helps with quality scoring, was what Anthony said. If, for example, we offer search optimization, social media, email marketing. If someone did a search for email marketing solutions, I would want my ad to say email marketing solutions and land them on the email marketing page, not my home page where email is one of 10 things that I mentioned. So it's that granular targeting of the ad, and whether you're doing it organically or via paid, you want to be able to do that. This tool then lets you slice and dice that data, making sure that you're increasing volume of traffic, but also that it's the right type of traffic. Right? I know some people, they just did a test on TikTok and they saw a huge spike of traffic come into their site for 2 or 3 days with this ad they ran. And the average time on site was about 30 seconds and there was no inquiries from it. So just because there's a large volume spike, particularly certain types of ad platforms as well, like Google lets you advertise within video games that people are playing on Google Store and Apple Store. And for those of you who play games, they'll throw ads up in between each round, and sometimes you accidentally click them. But if you're not really in a mode for, receiving advertising information, those tend to perform poorly, right? So, but if you're advertising another game within a game, sometimes those could do well, right? So you have to know the audience and where they're at, and these tools will help you test and measure those. Does good conversion tracking matter? Absolutely. It's one of the biggest issues we see when we take on a client who's done some of this in the past. The first thing we see is that these Google Suite tools are not all being used. They're not being integrated in the way, because they don't all just talk to each other automatically. We have to go through an integration process to get them all talking. And then most importantly, they haven't really segmented out the different types of conversions. And so they don't have an understanding of how to separate what works, right? There's an old adage in marketing and advertising, which is, hey, I know at least 50% of my advertising is working. The problem is I just don't know which 50%. With the internet, and especially with conversion tracking, those mysteries can be unveiled. And now you can stop doing 50% that's not working and focus it on the 50% that's working. So over time, we typically see increasing results with clients, sometimes on the same budget, sometimes less budget. You know, we'll work with a large institution like a college or a large law firm. You know, we'll reduce their spending by $5,000 or $10,000 a month because it wasn't being properly measured, and we saw that that was a bunch of waste, right? And then once we know what was working, we can shift into that, or we can try some other targeting criteria, or move some budget from search to radio or things like that. So that's kind of the idea behind analytics. It's one of those that kind of must have. There are other competitors in the industry, but most people use analytics, and then if they want to go deeper, then they get some other type of tools like HubSpot, or they integrate with their Salesforce automation platform, especially on the B2B side. Search Console is the same type of tool, meaning you install it with a snippet of code, and it can unveil itself in its own interface, but also add some tabs within analytics so you can see everything throughout analytics. In fact, if analytics is set up right, you should be able to see your ads, your Search Console, and your core analytics all in the one spot. Search Console, though, looks more at the technical and foundational side. So if there's server errors, if your site is slow, if Google's unable to crawl certain things or finds duplicate content, if you have a lot of page errors like 404 page not found because maybe sites don't exist, or there's broken links on the website. These are the types of things Search Console will give you. And these are often overlooked and often pretty critical, particularly right after people design a new website and launch it. If they didn't consider the search engine optimization impact of doing so, this tool will reveal a bunch of errors and issues that can be quickly corrected if they weren't caught during that process. So this one's looking at everything from a general overview to mobile performance. This shows you exactly how many times Google comes back. I mean, when I started in this industry, you would put some new pages up, and then you'd set a reminder in your calendar for 14 or 30 days out, waiting for Google to come back and crawl that new content. And now we're in a world where I released a Forbes article at 8:00 p.m. last year, and by 9:00 p.m., it was ranking on the top page for website security. So it gets scrolled almost immediately on national websites. And probably every day, some Googlebot is coming and looking at some pages on your site. So that waiting period really isn't there anymore. And you want to make sure that when you push new content, it's getting crawled. And that you don't see any jarring stats on this graph. Right, like one line of error code in your htaccess or robots file could block your site from search engines completely. So you want to make sure you didn't accidentally click the box in WordPress that says don't optimize for search engines. And if you had these tools installed, you'd have a window into catching some of those errors as they occur. Just some other performance issues here: total number of times you appeared in search results, total number of impressions from clicks. And now here you can see what words you showed up as. So this one looks like Anthony pulled it off our site. So in that month's period, you know, what is a mean? We showed up 28 times. Digital marketing agency, we showed up, looks like 34 times. And so you can see how are you getting found and how often for certain keywords. And then the total number of impressions. So, you know, on those 34 clicks, I showed up almost 191,000 times in that time frame for that phrase. This is the 404 page not found, excluded. So if you're having server errors, again, if you come and see a nice flat graph like here, you'll know there's no issues and should be looked at periodically. Other things like your sitemap, your robots file, you upload into this tool. And it'll tell you if anything falls out of date or out of whack, it'll report back to you. So that's kind of the importance of Search Console. This last one, probably not relevant for everyone here, but if you're an obsessive data person and you really want to garner detailed metrics, you know, each one of these platforms, like if you're buying ads on Bing and Yahoo, that's a separate ad platform. Even though it's only about less than 10% market share, there's still some people using it, and you might want to be there. If you're buying ads on Facebook and Instagram, if you're buying ads on LinkedIn and other social platforms, each one of them has those little code snippets that they want you to put in to get granular tracking. And what can happen is you've got this really tedious section of code that you have to now maintain on all your pages, and you don't necessarily have a plugin that's designed to handle all 6 or 7 of those. So what Google Tag Manager allows you to do is kind of just create a little file out on the cloud with all the tracking codes that you want to put in it. And then it gives you one set of codes to go place on your website that'll trigger all of that tracking without you having to manage the placement of all of that tracking and stuff yourself. So it's a code management tool, managing multiple tags. I'd say the general rule to me is 4 or more. If you're tracking 4 or more platforms, you may want to get off from doing them manually and deploying it on Tag Manager. It just gives you that central place to change it. Periodically, Google will upgrade, and Facebook, and they'll say, oh, you need to pull this new version of the code because these other features like demographics won't be available unless you have the new code. So this gives you just a single place to modify without having to go nuts and digging through code. Just an example of all the things that can tie together. I mean, really, even like if you use Constant Contact or MailChimp, those can also be placed inside the Tag Manager. And so now you kind of have a one-stop shop for managing all your metrics. All right, this measurement and optimization is really critical to refining all of this traffic that comes from above and being highly selective on which traffic is actually going to drive visitors, leads, and sales, right? With leads and sales being the more important factor of that, and visitors sometimes being something that you actually could trim back by just getting rid of irrelevant traffic or stuff that's not converting. I will end here. We'll open it up to any questions. This is the summary. If you want to go check these tools out, you can bring up the URLs from here to learn individually about these platforms and play around with them a little. And we'll open it up to Q&A.
I think, Joe, you answered the couple of questions that had already come through. There's a lot of thank yous. That was a tremendous amount of information. If anybody has any questions, please feel free to please type them in now so that we can see if you have any questions or anything. I do have to say that was exceptionally informative. The amount of information, as one of the commenters had said, it is really staggering, and the amount of tools that you presented to people. So thank you very much. I don't see any questions coming through. I do want to just say one thing. First, I want to say thank you. That was incredible, absolutely incredible. And I'm going to be hitting you up to come back soon for a little bit more, because I know all of these things, as you've all mentioned, changes dramatically. So the one thing I do want to mention just to everybody is November 28th is Small Business Saturday, and we have our bags. So if you are a retailer and you do not have your bags or any of your collaterals, please let us know, and I'll be happy to drop all of that off to you. We'll be promoting that. Please make sure you support your small businesses. I want to thank everybody from Interact Marketing. You guys do our website, which is always awesome because of your input and putting up with my phone calls of what do we do, how do we do this, please help me. Anthony especially, thank you so much to you and your team for that. If anybody has any questions, Joe is just good enough to put up the URL for Interact, so please feel free to contact them. You can call us. Also, if you lose that, we'll be happy to direct you over to there. So thank you so much, Joe, Anthony, and Arena. It was great to see you.
We have our contact info on the screen, and the link I put up is for a complimentary assessment. So we'll actually take these tools, and at no cost to the chamber member, we'll conduct an assessment of your site with some feedback and recommendations.
You're awesome. Thank you.
And we're kind of backlogged, so if you put it in, it may not come till after Thanksgiving at this point, but we'll get it in queue and make sure we reach out.
Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, everybody.
Well, thank you. That's really generous. That's very generous of you. So thank you all. Please stay safe. Remember, wear your masks. We're depending on each other to stay safe. So thank you again for spending your morning with us, and we'll see you next month.